imisebenzi ezininzi ene kudala siyizama ukuthi mayibe right kumane kusithiwa izawulungiswa kungade kube khonto elungayo. Sisahleli ke nako kusisalindile ukuthi mayide ilungiswe kuba kuthiwa kuzawufakwa ithi asazi noke naleyo into ukwenzela nje uba mhlambe kuzawuvotwa ngoba asazi noba bazasilungisela na. Xa ngaba ingenziwa le ndlela ndiqinisekile abantwana bethu bangalifumana ithuba lemisebenzi kuba kaloku abasebenzi njengoba sebemane behleli nje ezindaweni kuzo kungenxa yokudinga imisebenzi.
Akho nto enhle endiyibonayo kubi nje kulelala esihlala kuyo, but kunezinto ezenziwayo ngokokwabo inoba basikhupha ekuhluphekeni, but izinto ezenziwayo azigqitshwa. Istadium asigqitshwanga, umgwaqo wenziwayo awugqitshwanga, ama-RDP esinawo akagqitshwanga.
Nomama washonelwa indoda and then bebehlala kulendlu lenibonayo. Kutheke ngomnye unyaka zafika izithembiso kwenzeka into yoba bakhelwe indlu le ephambi kwethu le RDP. So le ndlu nge-RDP zakhiwe ngo-2014. Ngo-2014 nje maniyibona ke nizoyibona le ndlu ayizange iphinde yagqikezelwa. So siyacela mama kasicele ba mhlawumbe kunoba kwenzeka ntoni sithini istory sakho malunga nempilo zokuhlala apha kwakho mama.
Yes, ngo-2014 kuze kube u-2024 ingekagqitywa.
2014 okoko injena zange iphinde igqitywe.
Oko injena ngo-2014 azange yenziwe nto okusanjena nangoku.
Siyabulisa ekhaya, hey kunjani na? Hayi siyabonga Nkosi. Izimfuno zini zabahlali abazifunayo kuwe abazikhalela zenzeke?
Abantu bayacela ukhona umbani apha kube khona namanzi nawe engapheleli, sibe khona istadium sikapheli naso. Siyacela kubahlali banaso sithi siphumelele kwawazi uba onyana basuke emathaveli bafumana imisebenzi. Sicela kakhulu ya lonto leyo yonke nendlela bamayidiphelele benhle sikwazi bazihamba kahle imoto. Siyafika yentoza izigulane eclinic, iambulance zifike late okanye sidinga afike special. Siyasokola isikhathi esiningi. Siyacela kanti ngesibonelene.
Kuseninzi okufuneka kwenziwa abantu bakwazi nge-29 kaMeyi bakwazi ukuyovota. So ngicela ukuthi uhulumeni bangakwazi ukuqaphela ezinto ezi abazi-highlighta abahlali bonke apha ekuhlaleni, then if singalungisa zonto ezo then uhulumeni angakwazi ukuthi abe right and futhi akwazi ukuthi basiphinde sibuyele nge-29 siyovota. Umbutho uzakwazi ukuthi wenze into ezi-right.
Well, good afternoon, South Africa, and good afternoon, Eastern Cape. I'm Sakina Kamwendo. This is the 8th edition of Elections 360 in the lead up to this year's general election. And of course, I am not alone. Blaine Herman.
Good to be with you once again, Sakina. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Hello, everybody. Yes, it is exactly a week to go until we exercise the franchise. That means we are at the business end in terms of election campaigning. So it's heating up, right? We're talking rural development, infrastructure development. We're also talking housing. And these are the issues that affect you and your family, and that's why we're talking about it this afternoon. It's your chance to engage with the people that are after your votes directly.
And it is, of course, an interactive program, very much audience-driven, and Blaine, right, you'll be handling that part this afternoon. And of course, we want to hear from you. If you're watching from home as well, feel free to engage us, interact with us, and perhaps even send your questions to us. But also thanks to Cleopatra Jones there for that insert. And I think that speaks to what our focus is here this afternoon.
Right.
We're talking infrastructure development, especially as it pertains to its impact on rural communities.
100%. So let me go down to the audience. I'll let you introduce the panel.
Indeed. And of course, joining us to discuss this very, very important subject this afternoon, representing the ANC, we have Mamuluko Kobai, from the DA, Chantal King, the EFF. The EFF this afternoon, represented by Mziyanda Tlekiso. From the UDM, we have General Bantu Holomisa. ATM is represented by Zama Nchona. And rounding out the panel this afternoon from the AIC, we have Reverend Dr. Mxolisi Kum. Well, thanks so much to all our panelists for making the time this afternoon. And let me start off, as we always do here on Elections 360, we're going to give each of you a minute to make your opening statement pertaining to the topic at hand. Of course, we are in the Eastern Cape, but this is a national discussion. So we're talking infrastructure development pertaining to rural communities. Let me start with the ANC.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to everyone. The African National Congress over 30 years has been able to improve the lives of the South Africans, and there's more work that we still need to do. The first point is to be able to say in human settlements, we've been able to do rural housing program, particularly in the Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, Northwest. We've been able to upgrade the houses, the streets. In terms of the road infrastructure, we've been able to build quite a number of road infrastructure and been able to draw that issue of balancing between what we do in urban areas and what we do in rural areas. When you look in terms of human settlements, one of the things is acknowledgement of the infrastructure that we need to do. Either you talk about access to electricity. Prior to 1994, there was no electricity even in rural areas. Today, we are able to access that. Access to water in terms of either we utilize as we build the houses, we put the tanks so that we attach that in terms of the rural communities so that they can have access to water. So there's quite a lot that has been done.
Let's move to the DA.
We have seen, good afternoon everyone. Well, Sakina, we have seen what the ANC has been capable of doing. They have had great failures when it comes to the restitution, redistribution and land reform tenure. The rural area, if you go to former Transkei area, you will find that most of the people do not share the same sentiments that is being shared by the ANC in terms of electrification and water scarcity within those areas. We've also seen that the type of houses that's being built is of such a poor standard that most of these people staying in those houses are becoming sick. What we've also noted, especially in Buffalo City, the best thing that the ANC can give people is just temporary housing units, which in one area here in Umdansani cost them over 29 million rand TRUs, and still those people still don't have access to their houses. With what we've done in the Western Cape, we've cut down on how long people should stay.
That's your time, Ms. King. Let's move to the EFF.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, good evening, Sakina. Greetings to all ground forces of the EFF who are here. Nearly 12 million people are unemployed right now. The ANC, Sakina, in its manifesto says it won't create jobs. Instead, they will create 2.5 job opportunities in the form of EPWP and them. So just under 10 million currently unemployed people will remain unemployed. This number, Sakina, is guaranteed that it's going to increase. A vote for the ANC is a vote for joblessness. The EFF government, Sakina, will make sure that it creates millions of sustainable jobs. The EFF, Sakina, will embark on a massive industrial development. That's how we're going to create these jobs. The EFF will protect, in fact, and existing industries. The state will be the key.
That's your
market.
time. Thanks so much. UDM.
Hey, Nikki, time man. Yeah, for the UDM, the first day in government would involve a briefing on the state of safety and security in the province, as well as the status of the provincial treasury. One of our first priorities will be to address the crumbling infrastructure of the roads in the province, particularly the roads leading to the coast. The issue affects not only our residents, but also the tourism industry. The UDM will not be shy to return back the maintenance units which used to maintain our rural roads. We'll also bring back the maintenance units which used to maintain and clean the environment, and also to make sure that our schools, our hospitals are in good
That's
shape.
your time. I'm moving on to ATM.
Thank you very much, Sakina. Well, as the African Transformation Movement, under the rulership or the leadership of the Honorable Vuyo Zungula, we will ensure that we increase access to services. Because at the center of the migration of people from rural areas to urban areas is the issue of access to services. We have already dealt with the issue of provision of alternative water sources, as the people of Xolobeni have been suffering because of their mining stance. 150 houses right now have water tanks because of the project of water harvesting of the African Transformation Movement. The African Transformation Movement will speak to the industrialization, which will give secondary industries like agro-processing, because we believe that it is not enough just to provide one household with one food garden, but we must also speak to beneficiation. This will also speak to access to markets, alternative markets, like when
That's
you look...
your time. AIC.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Sakina. Greetings to your team. Greetings to African Independent Congress and the viewers across. In the platter of democracy, we are bringing the following for rural people. Roads. Your roads are terrible. For 30 years, your roads are very terrible. We are bringing irrigation schemes so that you are able to make food for yourselves. Decent education facilities. We're going to be building schools for you. Livestock, good health. There will be mobile clinics for you guys so that you do not die in the corner there. And also we'll deal with rural crime and also rural tourism. And we will make sure that we bring the services to you at your doorstep. Thank you very much.
So there you have it. Those are the opening sentiments. You've heard the opening sentiments there from our panel, and of course, there's quite a lot to dig into. The Eastern Cape, the unemployment rate in the province sits at 42.4%, which is, of course, the highest in the country. The Eastern Cape has 10% of its roads paved. And if you go back to the National Development Plan and what Vision 2030 envisioned, it spoke to, I think, what the ATM touched on about linking communities to opportunities, and the road infrastructure network was meant to be a key part of that development. But of course, it's all up to you as well, the audience, because as we said, this is an interactive, audience-driven show. So let me hand it to Blaine to get some questions from the floor.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed, Sakina. Just to add to what you said, it's a significant province, right? Over 7 million people live in this province. It's over 7%. It contributes to the national GDP. There's over 3 million registered voters. What is at the heart of their concerns? What are the issues or factors that will sway their vote? Let's hear directly from them. Sir, thank you very much indeed for joining us here. Your full name and your question.
Thank you very much. My name is Ncedo. My surname is Cheku. I'm a resident here at East London Pacific. I'd like to servant Zamanchon of the African Transformation Movement. Here you got a great topic today, infrastructure. As far as roads are concerned, Zama, particularly in the rural areas, I'm from Umkanduli, and there's a hospital at Amadwaleni, but when you from Kanduli, the town, all the way to Xhosa, the other town, there is a tar road there. But for residents from the closest rural areas, all the way down to the hospital, there is no road. There's just a gravel road. Now imagine a person is on a coma, has to travel to that hospital. How are they going to travel? The entire allocation of roads, particularly in the rural areas, as I said, is terrible and has been since 1994, to be honest. Only the main roads would be taken care of. But major residents and voters are from the rural areas. So what is ATM catered for in that regard? And also just in the same breath about food security. I know that we've got a high rate of unemployment in South Africa and food is costly. So how is ATM going to deal with food security and particularly making it easier, accessible and cheaper for residents?
All right, thank you very much indeed. Roads not only affecting the economy, but also health issues as well. So your full name and your question?
Good evening. My name is Zugisa Katusha. I'm the branch secretary of Ward 30 here in Tanzania. I would like to state my question to Comrade Kubai. I just want to ask her, since this led ANC government has invested so many investors here in South Africa, what is the value of the investors since 2019? And also, how many jobs have the ANC created since the COVID-19? Thank you, sir.
All right, let me get one more question, then we'll get some responses. So your name and your question.
Thank you. I'm Frederick Poole. I'm a resident of East London and also ward councillor. I want to ask Chantal from the DA, what has the Western Cape done differently to get the roads in a better condition than what we have in the Eastern Cape? And also, with its provision of services, why is the Western Cape better? Why is the Western Cape better with the unemployment? Why have we got only 24% where the rest of the country is at 48%? Explain to us, please. Thank you.
All right, some of the issues of the community that have gathered here in Mdantsane. Sakina?
All right, let's answer those questions, starting with Ms. Nchona there from the ATM regarding roads and food security.
Thank you so much. For the African Transformation Movement, as I have alluded, access to services is central in our plan of turning around the challenges that are faced by the people of this country. Because if you do not build secondary roads and you are going to place clinics and schools in those environments, it is going to be what we see all the time in the Eastern Cape, that children will have to cross rivers in order for them to access. Now, fundamental to ensuring that there is transformation of access to resources and services, goods and services, the African Transformation Movement will definitely make sure that we deal with the issue of building good quality secondary infrastructure for this country to ensure that there is access. And when we come to the issue of food security, we cannot run away from the fact that one of the drivers of higher prices is fewer players in the space. And when you have more food in the space, you'll be able to drive the prices down. And also, with the number of people, with the numbers getting to 42%, and you have not even gotten to a point where you are defining the expanded definition of people who are not employed. And when you look at the poverty rate of this country, it is pivotal that the issue of food security be something that happens in the doorstep of each and every individual. Now, the African Transformation Movement will then contribute by a revolution that brings back farming into our society so that it is the cornerstone of food generation. But also, it is important that we do not only limit our people to only being consumers of the produce. For instance, we have a scholar nutrition program, and that food does not primarily come from the smaller businesses. It comes from the massive farms. Now, if there's integration and coherence in governance, we will then say the smaller businesses must be the ones that get an opportunity to sell to the schools so that the rand can travel amongst its intended recipients more times before it leaves the society.
Okay.
So the ATM will definitely give you that.
There were two more questions, ANC and DA, so you can have your opportunity.
No, thank you very much. I think the first issue around job creation. When you look at the manifesto of the ANC, you'd see that we say priority in terms of what government has to do, in terms of creating of the jobs. And then the second priority is around industrialization. So there's a confusion about people not understanding what the manifesto is. The role of government, if you look at what we have done in terms of teacher assistance during COVID, learning out of those, we've been able to utilize the jobs, presidential job creation program to be able to create some of the jobs to be able to close the gap of opportunities, but skilling young people in particularly in the communities. Now moving into the Eastern Cape, when you look at the Eastern Cape, you'll see that this government actually since 2019, for example, you'd have seen almost 217 billion of investment just particularly in the Eastern Cape. This has been driven by the ANC. You go to, in terms of what we have done in the manufacturing space, the Kuha, you go, these places did not exist. Kuha did not exist prior to 1994. It has been existed as an intervention, as part of the SEZ that are being developed, as an industrial policy that drives job creation in the province. We've been able to see, for example, consecutive years of increase of GDP growth in the province of 2.1%, and therefore that in terms of work, we've got to be able to start seeing in terms of the translation into the jobs. While Eastern Cape has higher numbers in terms of unemployment, when you look consecutively, when you look at Stats SA, you'll be able to see there's been a decline between 2020 and 2023 in terms of job creation or unemployment figures. And that is part of the work that has been done, driven by investment direction in terms of ensuring that we preserve the jobs. I mean, here in the Eastern Cape, that's where you find the only production point of VW Polo in the world. This is where, and that is driven by the ANC government. So it's not things that happens out of osmosis. Investment drive. President Ramaphosa said we are driving investment. Premier Mabuyane has been going and interacting with various countries and various companies to be able to invest in the province. You talk about the issues of land tenure as well. You see that over years, we have been as government to be able to give land to the people, back to the rightful owners in terms of redistribution of land. We've been able to give women land to be able to be productive. Minister Chitisa this week is launching a program. When you look at majority of the women who have gotten land, they have been given lease first for 38 years so that they can show that they can produce. Majority of them are exporters, commercial farmers produced by this government of ANC.
All right, DA?
I'm not even going to go far. I'm just going to go into the municipality of Kouga right here in the Eastern Cape. We've heard that the municipality of Kouga has initiated the project of the plastic road. This project was initially given to the Bisho administration under the Premier, who rejected them. We've taken this initiative and we've rolled successfully out the plant to ensure that we have proper roads in South Africa. But the Western Cape, we have allocated over 1.6 billion rand this year just to ensure that there's proper road maintenance and resurfacing of roads taking place, to ensure that our cars are safe on the road, not have the car safe, but the road safe as well. Sakina, in Buffalo City alone, 400 million rand was budgeted for, but they don't have the money. They only have about 87 million rand. So you can already do the calculation of the shortfall. So our budget is structured in such a way that we can carry on skills development while we are doing. EPWP should not just be about a menial stipend. We have partnered with CETAs to ensure that there are skills development taking place. When it comes to the unemployment, Sikita, it is no secret that we are at 26%. As compared to the rest of the country. How do we do that? We ensure that we upskill our youth. We ensure that our municipalities are innovative enough with e-hubs to ensure that people who are looking for those jobs actually have centers where they can go to apply for employment. We've also ensured that if you are going to look for employment and you don't have transport, we've got a system in place in the Western Cape where you can drive for free to your place of employment, to the place where you're looking for employment, and we have assisted so millions of people with that. But the most important thing, we've made sure that our education system works.
Okay.
And that is the important thing, to get most people out of jobs and into real sustainable entrepreneurship.
All right, those are responses. And we are, of course, going to bring the other panelists into the discussion as well. Let's just take a few more questions, and do feel free in your responses to factor in some of what has been said by the other panelists. Blaine?
Sakina, thank you very much indeed. Rural development, infrastructure development, housing. That's the topic for this afternoon. Let's get more of your questions. So your name and your question.
Thank you very much. My name is Siyabonga Khumbu. I'm a resident in Tanzania, NU17. My question is directed to the leader of the EFF. How does the EFF plan to, what is the EFF program of action in terms of addressing infrastructure and housing backlog? And number two, how does the EFF plan to urbanize the rural and township communities?
All right, thank you very much indeed. Infrastructure, development, urbanization. So your question and your name? Is it you? Okay, let's hear from you.
Thank you very much, Brian, and good evening to everybody. My name is Dumisa Tisani. I have two questions to my leader, the Premier in waiting, the General, the People's General. My first question is, as we all know that the Eastern Cape is mostly rural, which means is made up of rural areas, villages. Villages in the past were effectively led by the chiefs in conjunction with the headmen. That thing, when 1994 came in and the ANC took over, those powers were taken away. So what will the UDM government led by the People's General do in order to restore that power? The second question is, the Eastern Cape, as I've said, is mostly rural. Coming to agriculture, what will we do as the UDM government in order to make sure that our people from the rural areas don't go around being called foreigners in other provinces? We keep them in the Eastern Cape practicing what they used to practice before 1994, which was agriculture. What will the UDM government do in order to make sure that those people come back and work at home and develop their homes? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. We'll get one more question. We'll take a quick break and then get some answers. So your name and your question?
Thank you very much. My name is Mahlubanzi Machafta, and my question is directed to Reverend Om from the AIC. Since the debate today is about infrastructure, especially in rural areas, and given that the traditional leaders are ignored by the present government, especially in the development of their communities in their areas, I want to find out from the Reverend, what is the AIC intending to do to involve the traditional leaders in the development of their communities? And secondly, what is the AIC intend to do to rebuild the dilapidated infrastructure, especially in education, the schools, and also in health, the clinics in rural areas, specifically in the Eastern Cape? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much indeed. Look, there's a raft of questions that need some answers. We're going to take a quick break. Remember, the umbrella question, what we're asking is, what sort of solutions are there in terms of infrastructure development in your community? What sort of issues are you experiencing? Let us know. This is Elections 360 live from Ndansane. Stay with us. Back after the break.
Welcome back. Welcome back to Mdantsane. Elections 360 coming to you slightly earlier today, and of course from the Eastern Cape, and focusing on a very important question: infrastructure development and rural communities, and how those two are interlinked, and of course how the one impacts the other. And please rejoin us here in introducing our panel once again. We have the ANC, the DA, EFF, UDM, the ATM, and the AIC on our panel this afternoon. So quite a few questions to get through, and of course I think we'll take an opportunity to actually extrapolate a little bit more, peel back the layers on some of those questions in just a short while. But let's go back to the questions that were asked before the break, and starting with the EFF.
Thank you very much, Sakina. One, let's start by correcting the misinformation that the minister has. One, VW is not produced here in the Eastern Cape. Eastern Cape does not manufacture cars. In fact, the entire South Africa, we don't manufacture cars here. We assemble cars. So,
all right, let's give an opportunity.
So for her as a minister to go live on TV and lie to the people of South Africa, it's wrong. We assemble cars here.
Please continue.
Let us educate her. There's only one vehicle that is manufactured in South Africa. It's used by the army. It's called Samar. Now, as the EFF, we keep on saying, why can't this government of the ANC, if they have a capacity, and commercialize that car like a Jeep, so that we can have Samar and sell Samar here in South Africa, in Africa, these Jeep and BMWs and these Benz that they are driving, so that we can sell them expensive here in South Africa, so that our people can afford the cars that are manufactured here in South Africa. Now, let me go back to the question that was asked by a member of the EFF. The EFF has, in its founding manifesto, has identified 7 non-negotiable cardinal pillars. That is the program of action of the EFF. The first pillar talks about the expropriation of land without compensation. The second pillar talks about nationalization of mines and banks and all strategic sectors of the economy. Another pillar talks about building state capacity that will lead to abolishment of tenders. It's the reason why our people, it's the reason why we don't have like houses. You see, if the municipality of Buffalo City wants to build houses, they must give Mr. So-and-so a tender to build the house. Now, as the EFF was saying, after 29th of May, we're going to build the state capacity and we're going to abolish those tenders so that everything that gets to happen in the region, in the Eastern Cape, it must be done internally. That's what the EFF is going to do. Thank you very much.
All right, let's move to General Holomisa.
I've taken note of the comments by the Honorable Minister, Minister Kubai. But when you go outside this hall, the situation is completely different. I've just solved a problem now, an hour ago, on N2, where at Moy Plus, where the communities are complaining that the government is not listening. And I had to call Mabuyane on the spot to say, instruct Sandral to take over this chaos, because we cannot allow a situation where the economy is going to be sabotaged in this way. I hope that he has carried that instruction. Coming back to your question, in Africa, if you want to be successful, you should base your government on 3 pillars when you talk about traditional leaders. Pillar number 1 is a government elected by the people. Number two, pillar number two is the institution of traditional leaders. Pillar number three is religious groupings. I succeeded in the then Transkei to have stability in that area and declared that area a liberated zone because I worked with those three institutions. So the question of working with traditional leaders, it will not be only with traditional leaders, but I will insist that there must be uniformity when it comes to the issues of traditional institutions. The kings of the Eastern Cape are paid peanuts. Other kings are paying better salaries and also have a budget. Number two, the traditional leaders, that is the chiefs, are paid a lot of, are subsidized with transport, that is 4x4s. If you go to KwaZulu, you go to Limpopo and so on. Also in the rural areas, you like Zuma or you don't like him. When he became a president of South Africa, he made it a point that he's going to roll out the broadband in the KZN. And the children there have got access to internet in every school. Lastly, let me address the issue of youth. The youth of South Africa, I think if we are going to talk about job creation, we rather focus on reopening the factories which were closed by the ANC government in 1994 and invest more money and invest more money and train the youth and go and open those factories so that they can be wealth creators rather than queuing every day to look for jobs. Let us invest everything to our people. Agriculture, we had, for instance, in the Eastern Cape, called in an area Transkei. There in Transkei, we used to have TRACO. That is an institution which was responsible for purchasing tractors and help the communities to grow whatever they wanted to grow so that we can deal with the poverty first line. Thank you very much.
Reverend?
Okay. Thank you very much. One, we are having a rural development integrated plan underline implementation. Because in the past 30 years, there have been so many plans without implementation. So this rural development infrastructural plan is going to make sure that your roads are up to standard, your rail is restored, your mode of transport is integrated. We will make sure that your education facilities are in par with the education facilities in the urban areas. That is what we will do. Also, traditional leaders are God ordained. If you do not respect your king, how will you respect the king you do not know? So we have been anchored into our traditions by the traditional leaders. We respect them, we revere them. It is regrettable that the ruling party has disassociated itself from the traditional leaders. As a matter of fact, we will have a recognition, a realization, and the accreditation of the traditional leaders, because those are our founding fathers of the nation. What we'll also advocate is the parity. Why does Europe define to us what amount must be given to other kings and not to other kings? We advocate for parity, equality, equal respect to all traditional leaders. Lastly, but not least, there is a lot of embezzlement of funds. If you are not an expert in corruption in the ruling party, you have no seat. So, away with corruption, away. we will channel the monies that has been embezzled by the ruling party towards our own people, so that your life is better. Lastly, we are bringing liberty. 30 years was freedom. Freedom is myopic. We are bringing liberty to the captives. Liberty from unemployment. Liberty from load shedding.
All right.
Liberty from crime.
All right.
Crime is sophisticated, and there is regrettable. They're working together of crime and the police system. I am saying this from experience. So we want to devolve the SAPS so that the SAPS is at your doorstep.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Reverend. Ms. Kubai. So quite a lot has been said, quite a lot of allegations about the misrepresentation of issues, of monies, of all sorts of things by the African National Congress. Here's your opportunity to respond.
No, look, Sakina, let's start here. The EFF member just need to use Google. And then you'll find that Kariga plant is the sole manufacturer of VW Polo GTI in the world and exports to 38 markets, by the way. And the Polo Vivo, it produces 4 South African markets. So just Google. You don't have to be looking for, just Google VW. It will give you. The issue as well, I think I appreciate general acknowledgement of the work that done of broadband rollout. If you look at the broadband rollout strategy by government of the ANC, it's not a Zuma strategy. It's an ANC policy. I was Minister of Communication. I was one of the people responsible for that rollout. Now, we did not roll out in KZN alone. The first point of that strategy was schools, clinics, in terms of the broad rollout, when you look at that strategy. So I was part of the development of that program. And then we go to traditional leaders. I think we all agree on traditional leaders, that more all of us we have to do to support traditional leaders. And one of the issues that as the ANC we've said, there needs to be an equal system in terms of recognition of traditional leaders. But it is this ANC government that took the initiative when the apartheid government actually disposed our traditional leaders of their titles. We came back as the ANC to recognize them and say these are the leaders of our communities. It was the ANC-led government. The basic services and are given to them are done by the ANC government. The ones that you are talking about that we need to ensure, that's why we are talking about, there's been a process that President has allocated to the Deputy President in conversation. And that's why even where there's disputes, government does not get involved. We say within the families, can they resolve the dispute and find? But once there's a recognition that this is a king and this is a chief, that recognition is given by government. We even do a ceremony as government to recognize that chief. So it's not correct that this government is not recognizing traditional leaders. The last point is on the fallacy. The fallacy that DA governs better than anywhere. Let me tell you the story of Western Cape people. This is the true story of the communities in Western Cape.
Let's listen to the
DA
story.
does not cover. That's why I had to threaten the mayor in Western Cape, in City of Cape Town, with a court to provide basic services to 16 informal settlements. If they govern better, they wouldn't need a letter of threat from Minister Kubai. Number 2, if they govern better, currently they've stopped building RDPs, because they want to build social housing for poor people to pay. Where does a senior citizen who earns a grant, where will they get money to pay for a social housing? That's the DA in the Western Cape. So that's what I just wanted to say.
All right. Let's get the DA to respond. And ATM, your view on that?
I would would like to school the minister. The Western Cape is rolling out more homes than any other province. It is actually where you will find that we've got less TRUs and they stay less than 8 years. Unlike in this place just here in Umdansani, when people are staying in TRUs close to 15 years. In the Western Cape, we've ensured not only social housing, but more houses are rolled out. Currently, we have got money that's going to be sent back to National Treasury in Bishu because they could not build houses for our people. Our people don't even have ownership of their homes. They don't have title deeds. And we've rolled out most title deeds than most of the people in South Africa. We do put our money where our mouth is. The Western Cape has ensured that besides only giving houses, we develop the infrastructure, the schools, the water system, the sanitation system that comes with the development of houses, which you do not see in East London.
ATM?
Well, thank you so much. Well, for the African Transformation Movement, we'd like to take a bite on the issue of African royalty, traditional leadership, selective recognition. This is why it is imperative, if we are going to speak holistically about recognizing African royalty, we are not going to choose kingdoms amongst kingdoms. It is imperative that we fully recognize. The second issue, where is parity? Why is it that some are going to be more privileged than others if African royalty is treated the same in this country? Under the leadership of the African National Congress, we have seen that there is no parity amongst our kings. This is why the African Transformation Movement will see to it that there is restoration of dignity for African royalty in this country, and it is not going to look first who we are dealing with before we decide on who should be restored. All kings and chiefs in this country must enjoy equal rights, and that is going to happen under the leadership of the African Transformation Movement.
All right, General Olamisa. General?
Let's look at the issue of the housing and the infrastructure. We must say thank you to the ruling party for having rolled out all these programs. But the quality, comrades, the quality, there's no way that in 1992, 90s, 93 up to 1994, campaigning for the ruling party, ANC, and we said we will do away with matchboxes, referring to the current forums. Guess what? Oh no, please. What I would advise you to do, what I would advise you to do is that at least those companies which are given a tender, you must do a quality checkup, monitor those houses. Otherwise now, you build a house and then in six months' time, it's broken down. Please.
Watching Elections 360 and coming to you from Mdantsane in the Eastern Cape this evening. And we're going to take a quick break, and not forgetting the question this evening, what are the infrastructure challenges in rural communities? When we come back, more questions from the floor. welcome back to Mdantsane. We are in the Eastern Cape this evening as Elections 360. And our question this evening, the umbrella question, as Blaine says, what are the infrastructure challenges in rural communities? And our panel this evening from the ANC, Mamuluko Kubai, the EFF represented by Mzianda Hlekiso. From the DA, we have Chantal King. Bantu Olomisa is with the UDM, Zaman Chona from the ATM, and Reverend Dr. Mkolisi Kom from AIC. Blaine, over to you.
Yeah, look, rural development, infrastructure development, housing, these issues talk to each other, right? It also talks to the quality of life of a voter here in South Africa. And when the notes of the South African symphony, so to speak, harmonize, then we're on the right track. But the big question is, are we on the right track? Let's find out from the residents here in Mdantsane. Ma'am, your name and your question.
My name is Linda No Malanga Somnono. I stayed at Ward 30, Mdantsane NU9. My question to ATM Zamanchona is about the sports rural development. Our kids are just like staying here in the locations they too. They're doing nothing. Once they see an opportunity to them, they take them to other countries, other provinces, and all the stuff. Going back to that question about the infrastructure, I'm really interested to know the lies that are being said, okay? Because there's a lady, an old woman who's 105 years, who died in a shack. In the area that she was staying, there was no water for close to 2 years. Can you be elaborative or give us something that you're gonna rescue us out of what is being said? I cannot just do my white washing in the washing machine. I have to wait for the water to clear, okay? Because the water is not clean at all. It tastes like zinc. It tastes like poison every day of our lives. Can you be elaborative of whatever that is going to help us in this regard?
Okay, thank you very much indeed, ma'am. All right, let's hear from you, your name and your question.
Okay, good evening. My name is Lumka Drame from Ward 3, Southern Wood. I want to ask a question to you, Chantal King. As part of the DA manifesto, what is the plan to end watershedding, focusing on small business? Please rescue South Africa, Chantal.
All right, thank you very much. Sakina, let me just get one more question from this round, then we'll get some answers. Ma'am, your name and your question.
All right, my name is Kanyisa Jaka. I'm from Ward 48. Thank you so much. Firstly, just in passing, I want to say to Chanel, she must not come here and mislead the people of Eastern Cape. We know what is happening in Western Cape. And also my question to you, Mamukumbai, is that our province currently, it is a construction site. We cannot run away from that. Even nationally, we can see that the province and nationally, they are busy with constructions. There's also constructions of Msikaba. There's also Mtetu Bridge and 63 Road construction, R61 also construction, and Breyberg Bridge. Can you please tell me, Mama, Ingaba, have we turned a corner there? Can you elaborate on that, please?
All right, thank you very much indeed. Sakina?
Right, let's get some answers to those questions. Let me start with ATM.
Thank you so much. On the issue of rural development and sports, fortunately, I am a former cricket player right in this very region. Some of my teammates included Makaya Ntini, Monde Zondeki, and the rest. And what helped us, we are beneficiaries of the late 80s, early 80s, Baker's Mini Cricket, PEM OK Week, PEM Laser, PG Bryson, Plascon Cricket Academy. What was done there was the decentralization of services to an extent that every rural area had cricket nets. Every rural area had a cricket pitch. Every school in those rural areas, including my school, Charles Morgan, by the way, it is in the location in Ginsberg. We had access to services, and guess what? I was one of the best captains ever produced in the region because rural development was decentralized. Central to rural development was the decentralization of access to sports. Where we are, it is the mecca of boxing. Happy Boy Mkaji, Bungu, Hawk Makepula. And as you move here, you can't even see a statue that speaks to the greatness that Mdantsane has actually been able to get to. So the African Transformation Movement, when it says decentralization of services and increasing access in rural areas as far as sports, recreation, arts and culture is concerned, we will definitely deal with that. The issue of Etyeni, Engushwa, an unfortunate circumstance, a situation actually occurred. A 104-year-old woman bent to a point of beyond recognition. Now, in that area, one, she was not in a formal dwelling, that's number one. At 104 years old, she has been waiting since 1994. She died in a situation like that, that's number one. Two, in Ushwa, between a period of 7 months and 2 years, there was no water. And that caused the residents not to be able to respond to the plight of the woman. The African Transformation Movement has dealt with that issue by restoring the dignity for the family. We have built a house, and in just 4 weeks ago, we delivered it to the family. And it is not coming from the taxpayers' money, but if you are going to be in government, you must embrace the spirit of Ubuntu, the spirit of selflessness, a spirit that will make sure that others are able to partake. On the issue, the last issue of water harvesting. In Butterworth, Kukoni Dam that is 90% silted, which means even in the heaviest of rains, you can only collect 10% of the capacity of the dam, which means that you are going to run out very soon. The African Transformation Movement will see to it that the cleaning of our dams and taking out of sand that is occupying space and not allowing us to collect to full capacity will be something that we will deal with. Also, there are rivers that go to the sea without being harvested. How are we going to protect, especially our rural areas, from such? Okay. The African Transformation Movement will also deal with the issue of water harvesting till we ensure that there is protection for the people of this country and they never go thirsty.
Let's come to the DA. Ms. King.
Sakina, what we've done in the Western Cape when we took over from the ANC the last time, and we will replicate that, is to ensure, firstly, what we need to do is to sort out the governance issue within the Department of Water and Sanitation. We've seen what cadre deployment have done, so we will put people there that are fit for purpose. Once we've done that, the most important thing to do is to ensure that we secure our water services. We need to put in proper security, which is not happening in most places. That is why we have so much water losses within many municipalities because of vandalism and crime. And that's going to be very important. What we are also planning to do is to ensure that we prioritize wastewater treatment in various areas to ensure that we augment and have more sustainable water available for most people. Important, what is not happening in this municipality is water testing. We will actually make sure that we have proper water testing facilities to ensure that our people get good quality water to drink. Currently, most of Buffalo City's people cannot even drink the water in their taps because of the quality of the water. In areas where water is bad, we are actually advocating and have done so in this municipality to ask that water tankers be rolled out into communities where they cannot have proper service site. We've done that in Mzamomshle, where one of my councillors fought so hard for water tanks and for houses that was built without electrification and water. We actually got the municipality now to commit to supply water in Mzamomshle. We will also ensure that human capital is upgraded, because it's no use you have water meter readers who do not understand the job capacity that they're supposed to. And we lack scarce skills within this municipality and across this province where people actually know how to test water, how to do proper water infrastructure maintenance and repairs. So we need to urgently partner with universities and CETAs to ensure that we actually build the proper skills.
All right. There was a question, I think, from someone here from the ANC who asked about the construction site that is the Eastern Cape, and she asked whether you have taken a turn in some of these areas to see what's actually going on.
No, thank you very much, Sakina. I think let me start by saying people must vote for NC because we are experienced. And listening to what is being said, let me tell you why. One is that one issue. I mean, the diagnosis of the problem. DA says they will go to the Department of Water and get fit for purpose. The Director General in Department of Water is an engineer. So what are you talking about that ANC is not doing? He's an engineer. Two, in water, the problem is the pipes, asbestos pipes. So what we are having as a challenge, that's what I'm saying, experience helps. And that's why we are saying we have laid the foundation and we are going forward. The challenge in water currently is that we have built in terms of access to water to homes, more than what we have been able to do, more than what other governments have been able to do. And because of the infrastructure that was put by the apartheid government of asbestos, that's where we have a challenge. And now after dealing with the issue of access, it's about water infrastructure upgrade. That's where we are. Look at the plans, what Minister Mkhulu has announced. Coming to the issue around infrastructure, and I agree with General around quality. That's why if you look, the last sitting of Parliament passed the legislation that deals with consumer protection rights in terms of housing under NHPRC. So we've put together a regulator that protects consumers from shoddy building of houses, so that not only from government but even privately owned houses. That we have done. President will be signing that law, that bill into an act. So I agree with General that we've got to improve on that one. The issue of construction sites. Central is working. You drive between here and PE where I'm deployed and working. It's construction. You go the other side, one of the beautiful buildings, bridges, we've got Minister Sihle Zagalala was talking about the Welisizwe bridges. One of the things we suffered even with the disasters is that some of the bridges collapsed. They are being rebuilt, but also connecting communities. That's why I do agree with the comrade there that says, have you seen that Eastern Cape is a construction site? We have said as the NC, it doesn't matter who is doing it. We've brought in DBSA. Look at the schools that the MEC is opening every week in rural communities, quality schools. Just today they were opening a school together with the BRIM. Just today. Look at the work that is being done. That is partnership with DBSA. On Central, the roads, I agree, General. The roads, the province said, where we have no capacity, will bring in DBSA, will bring in Salran to assist us. Because part of the issue we must acknowledge is that there's a skills taking out of skills from rural areas. So provinces naturally like this one will suffer for people moving into Gauteng and all that. So that's why the Premier has been innovative enough to call in quite a number of experts to be able to deliver the services. Yes, currently, Eastern Cape is a construction site and people are working.
You're watching Elections 360 and we're coming to you from Mdantsane in the Eastern Cape, and of course we are in the Eastern Cape, but this issue is of course a national one, and did ask some of the people at home to also write in if they have any issues. There's the construction of a 70-kilometer gravel road, and I know we've had this one on one of our other programs on SABC as well, and apparently on this road 25 people died in a bus accident in May 2008. 2008. And at that time, the Premier had promised that the road would be tarred. 16 years later, no tarred road, and yet the money has been spent, 127 million in 2017. So this is one of the things that people are raising. This is the road between Cedarville and Kwapaka. So that one I'm going to park for the time being. We're going to take more questions. You can factor that into your responses. Blaine?
What do you think about the answers that are coming from the people that are vying for your vote? How do you think the issues are being framed, but more importantly about the solutions? Let's hear more from what you have to say. Last round of questions. Say your name and your question.
Thank you very much. My name is Xolile Sitsili. I'm coming from Ward 24 here in Tanzania. My question is very easy to the EFF, because we have a problem here in Tanzania. Before 1994, if I still remember, clinics were open 24 hours. But after 1994, clinics are closed at 2. Even if someone is sick at night, that person must hire a car to Enonchachambo. Even if that person stays behind the hospital, Makiwane, that person can't go to Makiwane. He must start, or she must start at Nonchachambo before Makiwane. I don't know what government of the ANC is doing. And I want to ask a question to the EFF. What is your commitment in this situation that we are facing? Because even in education, schools are being vandalized in Tanzania. The schools that were working before 1994. Today, those schools are homes of criminals. And I want to ask you, the EFF, how can you rescue us in this situation? One question to the minister.
Go on.
When did you deal with the thieves that sells the houses of people in Buffalo City?
Thank you. Well, let's get 2 more questions. So you're going to have another bite at the cherry. One question, please.
Thank you very much, Brian, once again. I don't think I need to introduce myself again. Okay, nevertheless, I am Dumisa Tisani. My 2 questions will be directed to the Premier in waiting. Come the 29th, we will be having a new Premier in this province. And the name of that Premier is none other than General Bantu Bonga Wolomisa.
Your question?
My question is, people have been asking questions, what the UDM has achieved so far. Today, I think that is the time for the president to teach them, to tell them what the UDM has achieved. That is question number 1. We want the UDM to tell the people of South Africa about its achievement. Question number 2. In this country, since 1994, our education system has been producing non or unemployable graduates. What will the UDM-led government be doing in order to ensure that when our kids leave those institutions, they get straight to employment, or when our kids leave those institutions, they are able to produce jobs so that they can employ the others?
Thank you very much indeed. Let's get the last question, Sakina, before I hand it over to you. Ma'am, your name and your question.
My name is Nonzwakazi Nyamakazi. My question is directed to Mr. Kom of AIC. Mr. Kom, I'm worried about the non-governmental organizations that are dying every day because of lack of funding. Yet I believe that these NGOs can play, or they are playing, a very big role in any form of development. You can talk about rural development, you can talk about urban development. NGOs will always be important to assist government to develop areas. So my question is, how are you going to make sure that these NGOs do come back? How are you going to ensure that these NGOs are sustainable in terms of skills development, in terms of funding? How are you going to strengthen their financial muscle? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much indeed. Sakina?
All right, thanks so much for those questions. We are, of course, coming to the end of the show, so I'm going to ask the questions that were asked to the various parties that you respond to that, but in the same breath, give us your closing sentiment as well. Let me start there with the EFF.
Thank you very much, Sakina. One of the reasons why the Premier of the Eastern Cape is not here because of she misled the minister. I repeat again. I repeat again, Sakina. I repeat again, Sakina. VW is not manufactured here in the Eastern Cape. Eastern Cape is assembling VW, not manufacturing. So let me now go to the question that was asked by the EFF. The EFF is going to build clinics that are going to open 24 hours. And all those clinics, each and every ward here in the Eastern Cape, in South Africa, will have a clinic with a doctor.
All right. Thank you so much. Let's go to the UDM.
Well, the United Democratic Movement from day one has been betting on a wicket of promoting ethics of good governance, promoting good administrators to be appointed to run our state. Secondly, as a result of this promotion of good ethics on running a government, let me borrow the word from you as a cricketer. We have been betting on a wicket of anti-corruption. I will list the victories. Where is the former CEO of IEC today? Yes, a UDM victim. The UDM also campaigned to remove the floor crossing legislation. It's no longer in our statute books. The UDM also today, I can confirm that as a result of insisting to our president that he should establish a commission of inquiry to investigate the PIC funds, which are monies for the pensioners, he agreed. Mpati Commission was appointed, and he confirmed that there are certain companies, listed and unlisted companies, which have been looting the funds of the PIC.
All right.
Secondly, you gave these guys, you gave them more time. No.
We are at the closing part, General. We are closing.
Here is an important thing. For you youth, Holomisa was part of establishing a project called Tutuka, which supplied study guides for mathematics, English, grades 12 and accounting. The aim was to produce more black chartered accountants. As we speak, we have over 2,000 graduates who went through that program.
They're going to cut us.
But you gave the ANC more time. You're not giving us time.
The questions were directed at them, General.
We must protest.
The questions were directed at them, General.
We are rounding up.
We are rounding up.
I'm still on the floor here. I'm answering the questions.
General, I said we are answering and we are wrapping.
But anyway, that's where your salary comes from. Go ahead.
ATM.
Thank you so much. From the coastal plains of this country, we will ensure as the ATM that rural areas will be able to benefit from the ocean's economy. We will ensure that we deal with the ring fencing of the microeconomic space and rural economy. We will ensure that there is agro-processing. We will ensure where there is mining, there is beneficiation, and the people of this country will be able to take not only the raw material that comes from the depths of the earth, but there will be added benefit to it. There will be more jobs for the people of this country, and vote ATM on the 29th of May for a values-driven leadership, and a leadership that will give you the kind of life that is holistic and good for you.
AIC?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much. One, we recognize the NGOs and will make sure that there is access to funding. That's number one. Therefore, vote African Independent Congress. Number two, we are bringing an integrated economy where agrarian economy is also part of the greater economy, so that you are able, where you are, to supply food for yourselves. We want to advocate for the increment of the grants. The grants are here to stay. Anybody who wants to do away with grant, that person is dreaming, because we've got scars of apartheid that has looted the economy. So, phezulu nge-grant phezulu.
Thank you very much.
Revitalize. We will revitalize.
Reverend?
We will revitalize the firms.
Reverend?
We will revitalize.
Reverend? All right, I have to move. We are wrapping up. Ms. Kubai?
Thank you very much. Let me respond
Thank
to
you
the
very
construction
much.
of the upgrading of
Thank you
N2
very
section
much.
Kwapata.
Please.
The construction of N2 has been done. Sandra has announced it. It's on the engineering news. It's on News 24. 1.2 billion investment in that road. As we say, as the African National Congress, let's work together to do more, because we have laid the foundation in the 30 years. We acknowledge that the scars that has been left by apartheid, we still have to do more to build. We will continue to create jobs. We will reindustrialize. We will fight for the people of Palestine as part of our work. We will fight for the Palestinian rights. We will give you access to healthcare as we have done. NHI is going to be implemented to free access health and quality health. We will ensure that we build a democratic and defend our democracy and we will defend our democracy against those who ban our flag. Thank you.
DA.
The DA is clear. We are on a mission to rescue South Africa. We have a plan to get 2 million people into jobs, and we've got a plan to make sure that 6 million people are lifted out of poverty through a better social grant system and welfare. We have proven that we have better education system. We have proven that we will have the rate of unemployment. We are going to make sure that the ANC politicians go to jail. We are going to ensure that load shedding will not return. All in a due to make sure safety and security in rural areas is acknowledged. We are going to make sure infrastructure development in rural areas, and we are going to make sure our people are developed and skilled so that we have more investment coming into our country. We have seen what the ANC have done, failure of 30 years. We have seen what these socialist parties are doing in the city of Johannesburg, and we know that if we are going to move forward, people own the land, not the government that must own the land. People
That is
must
where
own
we
the land.
have to leave it. Well, thank Thank you so much to our panel this evening. Mamuluku Kubai from the ANC. We had Ms. Chantel King from the DA, Mzianda Thekiso from the EFF, General Bantu Olomisa from the UDM, Zaman Chona from the ATM, and Reverend Dr. Mkolisi Kum from the AIC. And thanks so much to our audience this evening as well. It's been great in Mdantsane.
Lively as always. On Sunday, we'll be live from the National Results Operations Center, The Rock. Stand by for the full view up next. From us, take care. Bye-bye.